Over time, small fragments of orbiting rock collided, coming together into the planets circling the Sun. At first, Earth was molten, with temperatures in the thousands of degrees. But in the cold vacuum of space, this hot rock began to cool and change.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of 11 Minutes of Spirituality. And I just wanted to start this video with that wonderful bit out of that documentary about rocks being the fundamental ingredient in life. They say that there are meteorite rocks that fall down to Earth, and they're 4.6 billion years old. With those words, also he's using those wonderful words, molting lava or molting stones or molting whatever he's using as an ingredient in describing the universe. And with those words, I welcome you to another episode here. And I'm filled with inspiration. I'm filled with thought. I'm filled with things that I actually want to put into the ether, and that's why I'm here. That's also what I'm saying. Actually, I'm here on this earth, in this existence, in this carnation, to actually inspire people and try to bring some light into people's lives, I hope. There are many things that come to mind here. And one of them is Nikola Tesla, whom I'm a big fan of. In the internet, you can also find a short story by me called The Pigeon Goddess of Room 3327, which is sort of a Tesla's nightmare in his hotel room where he died, room 3327 in the New Yorker hotel. And I put it in several places in the internet. Tesla was responsible for a lot of different inventions that are forgotten, that actually use from day to day, but we don't know that it was Tesla. Another quote that comes to mind in this area is Einstein. Einstein, who said, the more I know, the more I don't know. And we take a lot of things for granted. We take life for granted. We take the world for granted. We take the universe for granted. And we form our little clubs in the world, and we say, well, this club that we have, this view of the world is the only thing that exists and the only right thing. Now, I'm calling this video, We Are Buzzing. And we literally are buzzing with energy. Everything in the universe is buzzing. I wrote an article about this the other day, which I posted in about 50 million different forums. And I got some very interesting response. One of my authors that I publish numerously in my online magazine, the Creativity Webzine, he says I am a source of inspiration, source of awakening, spiritual awakening, and that's actually a wonderful thing. It's what Aaron Doughty says, being a lightsaber or a light producer, a light giver. That is a very, very good thing. We are buzzing. Now, what does that mean? We are buzzing. Well, actually, everything in the universe is buzzing. Everything. From the little stone in your garden, to big planets, to the chair in your living room, to your burger. Everything is buzzing. And actually, all material is 99.9% empty space. 99.9% empty space. The whole universe. You, everything. What makes it real? What makes it real? What makes it real is the spiritual experience of it. I mean, even time is an illusion. If you, through a telescope, look at and a scientist said this by the way, if you look at a galaxy that's 2 billion light years away, you're actually looking into the past. You're looking into something that doesn't exist anymore. You're actually looking at something that doesn't exist anymore. Now, even time is an illusion, because for a person that's moving, and that's one of those relativity theories that Einstein formulated. A person that's moving actually has a completely different perception of time than a person that's still. So actually, that whole thing, the timeline is different for someone that's moving than a person that's still. Or if you're looking at a moving car and the guy in the moving car has a red dot that's moving vertically. The guy that's at the side of the road looking at the moving car, will see this red dot actually moving horizontally, which means that the perception of time for still and moving people are completely different. Now we turn to the actual reason why I'm actually making this video. We are buzzing. We are buzzing. Atoms. Little atoms, the cornerstones of everything that's in the universe. The shell of the atom, imagine it like a football field. That's the shell. Now, the neutrons and the protons and the electrons, which are inside the atoms, they're moving. They're positive, neutral, and negative particles. And they're as small as little jelly beans in comparison with the football field. That's the material of the universe. Now that means that everything, the material in the universe is 99.9% empty space. And what holds it together is the field, the spiritual energy. And you, dear viewer, are an electrical factory. Every cell in your body is a 1.4 volt battery. That means that you got trillions of millions and trillions of volts of energy in your body. So what holds it together is your spiritual energy. Now, when we talk about God, I'm a churchgoer. I go to the church every Sunday. But when we talk about God, we shouldn't limit God to religion. Religion is a medium. I grew up in churches because my parents, they were singers and they worked in churches. They sang oratories, they sang masses, they sang church concerts. So every Sunday I wasn't only in the church, I was also hearing them in church concerts. But we should do ourselves a favor and stop blaming other clubs for having a different view of God. It's like seeing a mountain from different angles, but it makes it the same mountain. If the mountain is God and we see the mountain from different angles, it doesn't mean that the viewer on the other side is wrong about God and you're right. It just means that it's a different view of what God is. And we're not limiting God just to this existence or this. We're not limiting God just to one thing. The whole universe is filled with God. And we have to ask ourselves questions like, what's beyond the end of the universe? What was before the beginning? We talk about God. We talked about the Big Bang. That everything started with the Big Bang. But what was before the Big Bang? Michio Kaku, this wonderful theoretical Japanese Californian physicist, he talks about the Higgs boson. the particle that actually triggered the Big Bang. But what was before the Big Bang? That's a very important question, right? Marion Kerr from the Quantum Research Institute, she was saying that you have always existed. I would say Christian doctrine doesn't talk about reincarnation, but souls don't just appear from nowhere. Energy is eternal. Energy is eternal. So, and if you look, a lot of the stuff that goes on actually makes sense. Reincarnation makes total sense. You know, a lot of the stuff that I've been thinking about in my life suddenly makes total sense. It makes total sense because I found out what I was in an earlier life. I have 2 or 3 of my earlier lives that I found out. And suddenly, the whole issues and the problems that I had in my life make sense because I knew that my issues that I had in this life actually had a reason in an earlier life, and it actually made, for the first time, it made total sense. And you know, just look, like actors always talk about, look beyond the 9 dots. Look beyond the 9 dots, which means look beyond yourself. If you're walking down a street, realize that everything that you see around you, everything that you move is moving, everything is 99.9% empty space. And what's holding it together is the spiritual field. And if we have the electrons, the 2 electrons in an atom, they entangle. And they've actually, William Phillips, Nobel Prize winner, he does these experiments all the time, along with many different scientists. And he's actually brought 2 electrons together, and then he's put them apart. And he realizes if he influences one electron, like 11 kilometers away, the other one is influenced as well. And Brian Greene says it's like a pair of gloves. These electrons actually, once they meet, they're entangled. You know, they're together. They're actually entangled, and they're actually they you know, if the one moves down, the other moves up, and they will know of each other, and they have a spiritual connection. Now, we are made of electrons. When we think of a friend, and this electrical energy of our aura actually comes to this other person. And if we think of a friend, this friend will think of you. And earlier on, this was like, mumbo jumbo. It's not mumbo jumbo. It is a spiritual fact. It's a scientific fact. And nowadays we have people actually weighing thoughts in laboratories. So with this quantum physics and the quantum entanglement and quantum mechanics, we have to change our entire view of the universe. We have to change our entire view of what spirituality is. We have to talk about quantum healing. We have to talk about spirituality. We have to talk about God as being through everything that exists. And so, and I don't always follow this, you know, I don't always do exactly what I'm saying, like talking positive, because I know when I say something positive about people, that will definitely come back. Because if you're talking about something positive, that will hit the other person in a good way, and he will talk positive about you. So try to forgive your enemies, or try to forgive those people that have trespassed you, because as somebody said, they're always looking at from their perspective. You know, they're always saying, okay, well, I'm doing this because of that and that and that, you know. And he might have had a bad day, he might have, you know, whatever happened to him, you know. And at the moment when we say that person did that and that to me, we're looking at it from a selfish level. And I'm also talking about, you know, a scientific quantum way here. And those things are all energies, and the world is filled with energy, you know. And there's one wonderful line that's often used: we have to look at the world with better eyes than that. Because basically I think we know everyone. That God is a conscious energy that flows through everything. And I know this was more than 11 minutes. It was like 15 or so on. But these are important things. Sort of the word on Sunday here, which are important things. Realize that this world, this thing that you're experiencing, this life, is a temporary spiritual experience. Marion Kerr from the Quantum Research Institute, she says, your soul or your existence, you don't only have a soul, you are a soul, but you have always existed. You have always existed. That's a very difficult thing to grasp because we invented time. We have this issue, well, the past, present, future, it's all different. No, it's the same thing. I mean, Aaron Doughty, who is actually, he does a lot of videos on really, really, really far out topics. But he says that all these existences that we have are just like a pastrami sandwich. It goes on top of each other. So actually, my life 300 years ago is happening at the same time as my life now, and it's happening at the same time as alien lives that I had or lives in the future. That's a whole different ball game. You know, if we start working on that, it's a very different. That's a really far out thing to grasp. You know, me right now as an alien, 300 years from now, at the same time as the Count that I was at the end of the 18th century. That's pretty heavy shit, man. So anyway, what I'm saying is if you start really judging the world with different eyes and trying to, you know, just for kicks, try to imagine looking at the world from another person's eyes. When you start to say, hey, that guy pisses me off. He really pisses me off. He's a, you know, F.A. Just for kicks, try to imagine being that person. Try to imagine wearing that person's clothes, having that person's past. You know, they even said Al Capone. If you were Al Capone and had those experiences, you most probably have done exactly those things because you were actually experiencing that. It led you up to that. So, and these are all things that are important to realize. You know, when we talk about God, we shouldn't limit God only to this earth. We should try to, we should try to just view God according to the entire universe. The particle that Michio Kaku talks about, you know, that kicked off the Big Bang. We should ask the question, what was before the Big Bang? We should ask the question, how do alien worlds, you know, pray to God? You know? How does an ant on your garden table, what is his way? You know, you say, well, ants don't pray to God. How do you know that? You know? How do you know that? Could you positively say that? When you hear the complex tunes of a bird singing, when you actually hear them conversing with each other, two birds a kilometer away, conversing with each other. Elephants who have a silent communication. Elephants who actually form a circle before they go somewhere to a water hole. They form a circle and they look down. What do you know? Do you know that they're not actually having a telepathy contact? Chimpanzees. This is very interesting. Chimpanzees, they have 10 times better mathematical memory. They tried this. Tetsuro Matsuzama in Inuyama in Japan, he tried this. He's tried this for 21 years with chimpanzees. There's this screen that he puts up, with numerical numbers, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and he flashes it for 5 seconds. And it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's like all in different places. And then he puts white dots on these numbers, where the numbers were. And you'd have to remember exactly where these 10 numbers were on the screen. A human can't do that. I mean, I see that for 5 seconds. I can't remember where all those things were. A chimpanzee, he does it right away. And he doesn't even have to think about it. He's tried chimps for years, and they all go. So, a cow that's being slaughtered, or a calf, his calf is being taken away on a truck, and the cow runs after his baby calf, screaming, literally, not just mooing, but screaming, "Give me my baby back." These are all things that we should actually start, changing our view of what God is. We all have a soul, even animals, and we all are in God, and we should start trying to work with the environment just as an ideal. We have 153 billion slaughtered animals a year. And the question is, if we're a world, a species that is like, I don't know, what are we, 7.5 billion people? And for our food, which is not even our food, it's like the food of the West world, which is like 60% of all these animals. Do we actually need 153 billion slaughtered animals a year? Do we actually need that? Do we actually need people eating 12 burgers in 4 minutes just to prove that they can eat a lot? And we're sort of just usurping the world. We're and the Bush administration, they scrapped Al Gore and Bill Clinton's Discover satellite. They actually scrapped it because it would actually diminish their political power. And now 20 years later, you would actually have a solving climate change, right? Well, you have politicians nowadays saying that climate change doesn't exist. But, you'd have people actually saying that political power and monetary power is much more important than actually changing the world. So what I'm saying, again, is try to realize we are buzzing. We are buzzing energy. And your body, each cell in your body is a 1.4 volt battery, which means that your body is actually a system of 50 trillion cells. And you're like Las Vegas. You have you have electrical power in you, baby. And your thoughts have weight. Japanese people have photographed the aura. You can be cynical. You can be macho about it and spit on the ground and say, "Hey, I'm just a body." But you don't believe that. I mean, nobody believes that. You have feelings, and those are just not hormones. They're real. You think about a person, that person thinks about you. You're in God. Religions are not God. God is above religions. So that was like 25 minutes of me blabbering. But it's just ideas that I'm putting out there, and whoever's watching, thank you for watching. Thank you for taking the time to watch. And I choose English as a language because I know that a lot of my friends in forums and places are, speak English. And if you really got through this whole video, I'm very happy. They're just ways to think, ways to see the world. And if you take some of these ideas and think about them, that's a great thing. Another thing that I want to actually add before I sign off for today is why are we actually laughing at the lovemaking that creates our kids? Why do we laugh at sex? And why do we not look, why do we look away when it comes to sex? And why don't we try to do something about the killing? Why do we hail our soldiers? I mean, God bless them, and of course, veterans and all that, they're wonderful, but I mean, come on. Why do we actually in movies cheer when somebody gets killed, and when somebody has sex on screen, we go, eee? I mean, we're all created by sex. Let's be honest. What is that? Why do we giggle at love and hail people who kill people? Why do we do that? I mean, it's just me trying to figure things out. And if you look at the story of Adam and Eve, just to sort of finish that thought off, it even says in Genesis, everything was all right when Adam didn't think about that. And the moment he started covering himself, saying, oh my God, shame. Sex wasn't the downfall. Shame was. Again, that's just me trying to figure things out. And remember, God does not judge you according to what club you're part of, because he's not a worldly king. He's a spiritual soul that flows through the universe. I mean, he would be pretty petty if he said, if you got an R on your sleeve or a P on your forehead, it don't matter. What matters is the shape of your heart. That's actually what matters. The shape of your heart. The color of your love. The rainbow in your spirit. That you are compassionate. That you have love. That you care. I bet God would, be much more willing to accept a loving, friendly, world-changing, inspiring, and compassionate and good atheist than to actually have some priest of a congregation that is pure evil. If you were God, what would you do? You would actually choose compassion and love. And I believe in God, and I'm a churchgoer. I go to church. I grew up in churches. But these are things that are just, aimed to try to inspire people to... Look, I have a Celtic cross on me here. But I'm just trying to inspire you to think. So, that was it. And this was actually now 28 minutes, and I admire anyone who actually just sat through this. Okay. Take good care, and be good to one another. You're here to love each other. Even love your enemies. I mean, Jesus said the same thing. Love your enemies. Love everyone. Because love is the only thing that changes anything in the world. Love gives you a long life. That's me. Thank you.